are now locked in and listening to The Issue.
This guy is a franchise quarterback, and no, I don't want to hear any pushback on that.
It feels like a top 10 roster to me. It feels like it can win a championship.
This is The Issue.
Yo, what's up? We are back. It is The Issue. It is Thursday, October 27th, and it is another episode of The Issue. First week streaming last week was Amazon Music, Amazon Prime Video.
Right.
Sorry,
is there a new
words
one?
Kind of escaped the brain there for a second.
Wait, is there a new one this week too?
Turns out all of our past shows are now there. So you can go listen.
Cool.
Our whole library just kind of transferred right over. Didn't even know how that process worked, but everything is there, just to reiterate that. Good show today. So Tim's going to start out with a rant on the Steelers. Kind of an interesting Sunday night primetime game last week. And a lot of big stories and, as you guys, takeaways, outlook for the season type stuff. And then hits and misses to finish out the first segment. In the second segment, it will be all review of Week 7 from the NFL, and then in the third, we will predict Week 8 and give you Week 8 bets on a budget. So, good show, packed show, and a lot of NFL to talk.
Did anyone else hear me cracking my knuckles in the intro there?
Yeah.
I had to. It's like I feel like I'm almost stretching, you know what I mean? I gotta
warm up a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just
Get
like
the joints
it's like
loose.
a force of habit. So anyway, Steelers lose Sunday Night Football, 16-10, I think the final score ended up being. Standalone games generally cause like major overreaction, especially, early that next week, right? Overreaction Monday. Obviously, it's Thursday. Now we've had some time to kind of soak it in, I guess. And I'm better than that. I'm not one of those guys who's going to come on here and freak out, say, we got a clear house. Kenny's not the guy. Starting Mitch Trubisky again. I'm not saying anything crazy like that. But I will say I feel the same way about the Steelers as I did going into this football game, and kind of going into the season as well. Right? I think Mike Tomlin is an all-time motivator. But from an X's and O's standpoint, I think the argument is that he needs a great coordinator. He needs a great staff in order to be successful. I mean, let's look at the only Super Bowl season that Tomlin has, right? When they beat the Cardinals with Santonio Holmes back in the end zone, right? Well, shocker, he had probably the very best coordinator tandem in the league. He had Bruce Arians, who went on to go win a Super Bowl as a head coach himself, and Dick LeBeau, who's probably a top 5 defensive coordinator of all time. I mean, clearly this team doesn't have like a bad staff around him, but it's not that. Right? Like I like Brian Flores, Bush looks serviceable, Miles Jack, his money, right? Like he's got some decent guys on his staff. The defense is solid. But I mean, I think at this point we can kind of say that Matt Canada is not right for this position. I think that's a fair assumption at this point. And I hate calling for people's jobs, right? Like that's his lifeblood. I'm not going to be here. I'll go fire him, right? But I will say, how much more do we need to see? I mean, there's no clever, and there's no wiggle, there's no interesting, there's nothing to it, right? Like there's not even an offensive identity, right? And you need an identity when you don't have a stud quarterback. Like for example, Buffalo. What's Buffalo's identity? Josh Allen. But that's a damn good identity, right? That's okay, right? Same thing with the Chargers, for example. I don't really know what I'm getting from them on a Sunday to Sunday basis on offense. They got Justin Herbert and some decent weapons, so they'll figure it out. We have Kenny Pickett, who's a rookie, and our offensive line's not good. So you need to have some sort of identity. Like look at what they've done in Philly. You might not love Jalen Hurts, and I don't love Jalen Hurts, but you know exactly what you're getting every single Sunday from him and from that offense. They're going to run the football. They're going to have some good play-action reads. They're going to win the line of scrimmage. And you know what you're getting. And something that can't be ignored here is what influence that Tomlin has. And I'm not in the room. I'm not sure what influence he has, but he's got to have some sort of power over the offense. I mean, for example, right? Everybody hated Todd Haley, right? Everyone hated how he did the same basic draw plays. And on 2nd and 3rd, he'd run a screen. And on 3rd and 8, we'd have like a toss to the short side of the field or something like that, right? What are we mad about now? Well, the same basic, boring, vanilla offense. But it's a new coordinator. And I'm not in the room, but what's the common denominator here? It's Tomlin. People are like, oh, it's Ben because he won't call the complex audibles. Well, Ben's gone. It's the same thing. It's the same issue even though Ben's gone. When Ben was hurt for a year and it was Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph, same problem. It's transcended quarterbacks. It's even transcended offensive coordinators. And I by no means do I think Tomlin should be fired. What I'm saying is that Canada is probably in over his head. Like I said, I don't like calling for jobs, but I mean, I think it's about time for a switch. And I think at this point, personally, I think behind closed doors, he'd tell you, I think an offensive coordinator job would be great. Because I think he could go get one at a Power 5 school tomorrow. I think he's pretty good at the college level. I mean, at one point he had the Pitt team being labeled as, quote, high octane with Nathan Peterman on offense. So, I mean, like, he'll be fine. He'd be okay. But what Tomlin needs, he's got the motivation. He's got the game management down, right? That's fine. He needs the genius X's and O's, right? That's what he needs. What did Sean McDermott do in Buffalo? Go get Brian Dable, probably one of the best offensive minds in the league right now. And by the way, that's totally fine. We rely on people all the time. Like, 2% of this podcast, I know how to do from a technological standpoint. If you said, hey, you're going to upload this to blah, 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 I would have no idea what I'm doing. That's him. That's not me. But that's not my bag. That's his. Right? Like, I sit in my living room and watch film for like hours on end and go through like scratch pad after scratch pad just looking at offenses. Right? That's my thing. I don't know how to do technology. Right? I mean, you rely on people. Brady's relied on a good receiver play and not getting pressure up the middle. We all know that's how you beat Brady. Right? Goff relied on McVay. Hell, even Mahomes relies on Andy Reid, right? That's just kind of how it goes. Who can Mike Tomlin rely on right now? Who can he rely on? Although the Steelers losing on Sunday night and, their coaching situation is significantly less serious than the quote I'm kind of about a quote from Stuart Scott. I'll kind of leave you with this quote because I think it talks about the fact that you need people, right? He said, fight like hell, and when you get too tired to fight, lay down and rest and let somebody else fight for you. Now, granted, he's talking about fighting cancer, which is significantly more important than a Sunday night football game. But I think the sentiment is there, right? Tomlin can't do this on his own. I think right now he's on an island. He's never had a rookie quarterback. He's got a rookie quarterback, and he doesn't have anybody there to help him. Nobody. I mean, I'm sorry. Matt Canada's not that guy. He's not that guy. He's on an island. Mike Tomlin's on an island right now.
Yeah, I agree. It's a first-time situation here in Pittsburgh. When you have the stability of a Ben Roethlisberger for so long, you forget what it feels like to be in the shoes of, I'm not going to say Cleveland because the Steelers don't have near the instability that Cleveland has. But
from a quarterback standpoint, though, Cleveland.
Well, yeah, when you're looking around and you can't, you're just going to have to kind of suck it up and see who you can find over the next couple of years. I think Kenny Pickett's pretty good. From what I saw on Sunday night, he looked good. He could get the ball into he was making some really nice throws. That throw to Pat Freiermuth over the middle during the 2-minute drill at the end there was really good. He was fitting the ball into a lot of really tight windows all night. And he actually got some plays from his receivers.
Yeah.
George Pickens makes a nice catch in the end zone.
Yeah, Claypool's been looking better and better by the week.
And Deontay Johnson hasn't been dropping every single ball thrown his way. He's been getting more consistent. So I think they do have the pieces, and they're starting to come together a little bit. I'm not sure they've nailed all of them, but they have at least enough. It's just they got to change that playbook up. They need to go something where you're taking a shot. Like Kenny Pickett's there. Take a shot. He's been throwing the ball into the right places all night. He hasn't been turning the ball over. Let him take shots downfield.
Right, and here's the thing, like I do think Jalen Hurts is better than Kenny Pickett right now, but from a pure passer standpoint, I don't think the gap is crazy.
No.
But look what Philly's been able to do. Now, granted, I think they have more talent on offense, but again, I don't think it's a wide margin.
No, and
I don't think it's like Philly here and like Pittsburgh here. And look what they've been able to do. That because Shane Steichen is young, he's progressive. They have a great scheme. They have an identity. I don't think it'd be crazy to say that you can bring something like that to Pittsburgh.
And I mean, let's not forget now, you have a mobile quarterback in Kenny Pickett. Kenny can get out of the pocket. He can move a little bit.
He's not highly moved. He definitely moves.
He's quick. He's quicker than a Big Ben. So now, scheme your offense a little more towards that. It looks like the only time that Kenny's running the football is when kind of everything breaks apart and he has to get out of the pocket and move. There's not any really design stuff outside of bootlegs. He's really good on his bootlegs.
Yeah. And here's the thing.
If you can move him around a little more and just scheme that offense to where your skills are at, I feel like it's still geared to a running attack, and Najee can't move the ball.
It's not even a good one. And here's what I was going to get at. That's a perfect segue. I mean, look what just happened on Monday Night Football. We thought the Patriots were going to demolish Chicago.
Right.
Of course, Chicago goes and runs for 250 yards. Are we just going to sit here and tell me that Chicago's offensive line is better than Pittsburgh's? I don't think so. They might be close, but I think Pittsburgh probably has a better line than Chicago. Chicago just ran for 250 on Bill Belichick, right? Good coaches find a way to scheme a numbers advantage.
Yeah.
That's what Shanahan's been doing for a living.
Right.
That's how he's made a living.
You need somebody upstairs that has that knowledge.
You absolutely do. I don't know. We'll see if they can turn it around. Let's just go with hits and misses here on a Thursday. All right, let's go hit number one. Well, we kind of said this since last year. Whenever we pick San Francisco over them in the playoffs, but Green Bay is wildly overrated. Their special teams is awful. Their defense is underwhelming. And right now, I don't think the offense under Matt LaFleur is any better than it was with McCarthy. And I don't even like McCarthy.
Look,
I mean, what do they do well right now?
Nothing.
You tell me what they do well.
Nothing, and the special teams is really, really glaringly bad. Kick return, punt return, doesn't matter what it is. They just can't get the job done. Aaron is struggling with those receivers. He's been missing just like a couple. It looks like easy throws, throwing the ball to the wrong spot, but then again, is the receiver running the wrong route? Like, what's going on? There's too many things up in the air in Green Bay for them to even be considered a tough kind of competitive opponent right now.
Right, and so I didn't even think about this until like a couple weeks ago when Colin Cowherd went on and said like, I think Matt LaFleur's overrated. Like he's basically saying, point out what he does well, and like we kind of lump him in with McVay and Shanahan because he kind of came up with them. But like in reality, what does he do well? Like we can see McVay sets that culture. Shanahan, dirty running game, great with Jimmy G. They always have a good defense, even though he's not a defensive guy.
Owns McVay when they play each other.
Owns McVay.
One of the best.
Yeah, and McVay owns every other coach,
and
right? Like
McVay proved it with the Super Bowl.
Right. What has LaFleur done? He beats the Lions and the Bears, and he gets to the playoffs but doesn't win. So I mean, like, it's interesting. I didn't even think about it until he said it, and I'm like, that's a good point. It's interesting.
I mean, it's something to keep an eye on and to watch. I think one of the biggest things will be, what happens after Aaron and how do they move past kind of this little dip that they're having. Because let's be honest, this is not Green Bay Packer football. It's not.
No, and I think it's interesting because they're at a similar spot to where Tomlin is right now. Obviously, they're very different spots of their career, but Tomlin's trying to move on from a legendary quarterback. Well, hey, LaFleur's going to be in that spot soon.
Yeah, at least Tomlin has an owner.
That's true.
Tomlin has an owner that he can go to.
All right, miss number one here. You had another losing week. Guys, honestly, I don't even think... If I was on your end, I think I might pick the opposite of what I say to bet. This has been an awful year. I mean, to be fair, we've had at least one horrific beat every week. Yeah. And usually we're losing, like, we're doing 2 and 3, right? And the one is like a really bad beat. So, I mean, some of it's luck. Some of it's just, we're picking bad quarterbacks to cover spreads that they should not cover. And, of course, they don't. So... Yeah.
And it's not like you can trust the good ones either, because what happened to Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, and so then I start to simplify things, and I go, let's just pick the better quarterback and the better coach.
And it doesn't work.
And, of course, this week it didn't work. So, like, what are you going to do here, people?
We'll figure it out. It's just going to be a matter of when we figure it out.
It's really unfortunate. It's starting to piss me off a little bit.
We need a little more stability throughout the league, I think, until we can, like, really start nailing stuff down.
Sorry, a little parched.
Nice noisy cup today.
So I lost the Yeti. Well, actually, I didn't lose it. I think I forgot. I think I forgot it. So I think I know where I left it. I know. Anyway, so I hit number 2. We did the coaching carousel game segment thing about. We did it going into this season. Then we did it the main one, which was big because there was like 11 coaches or something like that needed teams that needed a coach or whatever. And we said that Brian Daboll would be the best one. We didn't predict that he would go to the Giants, but we said he was the best coach on the market. I think we actually predicted the Chargers because of because we thought it would be an attractive job because of Herbert.
Well, yeah.
He ended up going to New York, but we did say he's the best coach out of this class. He's been fantastic.
Yeah, he has been. We ranked the candidates is what we did, and then we also ranked kind of like the top vacancies, like where you would want to go.
Right.
And yeah, he was at the top, of course. I mean, what he was able to do with Allen, and then now what we're seeing him do in New York.
Daniel Jones is serviceable.
He made Daniel Jones serviceable, though. Daniel Jones was not serviceable up until now.
Oh, you're 100% right.
He's making those throws, and it's kind of weird to see, but it's working out in New York.
And so here's my thing. I was talking about this with Pittsburgh. Good coaches find a way to scheme numbers advantages and scheme people open. I'm sorry, but I'm so far past the excuse of rookie quarterback, bad bad offensive line in Pittsburgh. Look at Brian Daboll. If you're telling me right now Daniel Jones or Kenny Pickett, I'll probably take Kenny Pickett. And if you ask me what offensive line, it'd be a toss-up.
I mean, they're not good either.
And look what they're doing with with just about the same exact thing that Pittsburgh has. And Pittsburgh has better receivers and a better tight end.
And I mean, I don't think, obviously Saquon is a beast, and I don't want to compare Najee to Saquon, but
they're similar skill sets.
The Steelers have Najee, and at least the offensive line in New York is finding ways to open up some holes for Saquon, and Saquon's actually hitting them is the difference.
Yeah, that's true, but I mean, they have a very similar, from a skill set standpoint, big, fast, can jump over people, will run through people,
Stiff
can
arm.
catch passes out of the backfield.
Yeah, bruisers.
Look what they're doing. So, miss number 2. I kind of thought for years, and I mean, pretty much as long as I can remember, that Indy was a well-run organization. But I think this morning, I think they're a bottom 5 organization. I mean, really, I really do. Tell me what they've done well pre-Peyton Manning and post-Peyton Manning. Ooh, Johnny Unitas. Okay, can we talk like real football, like that, not 1950, run the ball 97 times a game football?
Leather helmet football?
Since Peyton Manning, and then, so there's Peyton Manning from like the 90s to like the 2000s, right? So the 80s and before, 80s and 70s and 80s, and then since Peyton, what have the Colts done? Zilch. And now Irsay has his panties in a wad. They're gonna go ahead and bench Matt Ryan. Look, you can keep blaming quarterbacks. Go ahead, keep blaming quarterbacks. That's not the problem.
Benching Matt Ryan, though, that's kind of a big thing right there.
That's huge. But I don't think they're a well-run organization today.
Here comes Sam Ellinger.
I mean, this morning, do we think they're a well-run organization? They've paid a lot of money to linebacker, to guard. They can't draft guys on the outside.
No.
And they keep ripping through quarterbacks and offensive coordinators. You tell me. Does that sound like a well-run organization to you?
No, it doesn't. It does not.
All right, hit number 3. We went on time and time again saying, F it. Let Kenny Pickett, let it rip, baby. Let it rip. And then there's going to be growing pains, and he's going to struggle. And, but we need to see what he is. Well, we've seen exactly, this is exactly what we predicted should happen. They're playing him. They're letting him rip. I mean, 3 picks, it is what it is. It's growing pains. But he's exactly what we said, right? He's not super special, but he looks comfortable. He's going to let it rip a little bit. He's going to push the ball down the field. He's a little bit of a gunslinger.
Yeah. He's
been exactly what we expected, and then the Steelers have done exactly what I thought they should. Let it rip, see what you got with Kenny Pickett, and if he's not what you're looking for, then you got a good quarterback draft coming up. So
yeah, you can keep the eye there.
Right, this was the right move, and this is kind of what we expected the Steelers to deal with. Miss number 3, Luke once again totes the tiara.
Yeah.
I've opened up the lead. I am 5-2 on this young season. So, hey, I can predict winners. Maybe we should just start doing money lines on our bets because clearly I can pick that pretty well. Spreads have been absolutely screwing me, but it's okay. At least I'm 5-2 in predictions. You, unfortunately, are 2-5. What do you have to say for yourself, huh?
Not a lot. I'm disappointed.
Because not a lot.
Yeah, I got to find a way to turn it around. I'm looking for the slip from last year just to prove to myself that I was up by 3 and you kind of made it close. Just make myself feel a little bit better. But I'm going to keep searching for that and hopefully get a couple wins here. I mean, look, I'm going to make it a requirement today that we have to put at least 2 money lines and bets on the budget. We have to start.
Well,
somewhere.
so actually we have 2 over-unders.
Okay.
So I mean, maybe that'll help us.
Let's throw in a money line, maybe.
All right, maybe we'll throw in a money line. We'll see.
Something like that.
All right, and actually we got a bonus hit today because this is a really big victory lap for myself. So I guess the bonus hit number 4 here. I have had 4, 5 plus rants. Now, granted, it hasn't been in a while. It's mostly in the summer, right when baseball is starting up. And football is kind of slow, but I said that the Yankees are way too worried about home runs versus strikeouts, when in reality what you really need to look at when you're trying to gauge long-term success is walks versus strikeouts. They don't walk enough. They strike out a lot. And people are like, well, they hit home runs. That's not the stat to look at. It's walks / on-base percentage versus strikeouts. And they are abysmal in that little ratio there. And what do you know? They get swept by I don't even want to say far superior team. From a talent standpoint, I don't think they're far superior in Houston. Now, I think they're a better team slightly, but with that payroll, you should 100% be able to at least win a game in the ALDS. They got embarrassed.
Yeah, they did.
Embarrassed. And it's exactly what I thought. I said they can win a lot of games in the regular season. In the playoffs, they're going to struggle when it kind of tightens up and it becomes very situational. What do you know? Can't win a game in the ALDS. I called it. This feels fantastic. I don't like Yankee fans. They're kind of like Browns fans on this show. I like to go at them a little bit. So there's my dig for the day to the Yankee fans.
There you go. It's always a good day when we can throw in extra hit and hits and misses.
Yeah, especially from baseball. Could kind of spruce that up in there,
Infuse something else,
Yeah.
I mean, I love football season. I love talking all football, but sometimes it feels good to get a little bit of the diamond back into the show. But, guys, next segment we will have all NFL. We will be reviewing Week 7, kind of the big games first, and then, the rest of what happened, all the action, big stories after that. So stick around, not going to want to miss it.
All right, we are back for the second segment here on a Thursday. It's the issue. Going into Week 8 now,
Week
the NFL
8.
season.
Yeah.
So we're a little bit under halfway there. So that just blows my mind.
We are moving right along.
Yeah, I mean, so last week obviously did our predictions. I'm now up to 5-2. Unfortunately, you are 2-5.
Doesn't feel good.
But let's go over some of those games that we did watch. If you missed the first segment, go back and watch it. I had a little bit of a rant on the Steelers. Hits and misses per usual. Review here this segment. Next segment, we'll have our predictions and our bets. Just going back to last week, let's actually start with that Steeler game. So I kind of already explained that I think it's an offensive scheme issue.
Yes.
We see other coaches, they're able to scheme and work the numbers advantage in their favor to run the football, to get guys open. I mean, look, we did this last segment. I compared what is the difference right now between quarterback, offensive line of the Pittsburgh Steelers and of the New York Giants.
Not much.
I don't think it's much either. I don't think the gap is big in either way, right? I don't think Pittsburgh is significantly better. I don't think New York is significantly better. But New York's 6-1 right now, has a pretty solid offense. They have an identity. They're able to run the football. Daniel Jones looks serviceable.
Yes.
That's coaching.
I think it does come down to coaching and just scheming. Do you think that's the type of roster in New York, though, that can sustain that type of success? Like, we've seen now the Steelers struggle, and they've hit their kind of a little bit of a wall, and they're trying to break through that. But do you think New York hits a wall because of their limitations, or do you think the scheming and the coaching can be so powerful that you can kind of get your way out of that?
That's actually a really good question. So first part, no, I don't think it's sustainable enough to win consistently against like the top tier. Regardless of record, I think even at 6-1, I don't think anybody thinks that they're like a top 5 team.
Because, I mean, let's not forget that Steelers went 10-0 to start the season.
Right,
and 2 years ago.
And I think I said, 11-0. I think I even said that they're the worst 11-0 team to ever play. I still think that might be true.
Yes.
But so my point, I don't think, to answer your question, no, I don't think it's sustainable to where you can beat a Philly, where you can go beat a Minnesota, where you can beat a Kansas City, a Buffalo, even a San Francisco. I don't think they're in that tier.
But you're going to compete down at least.
But I think every other team they could beat realistically.
Yeah.
And I still think they'd give all those teams hell, but I don't think realistically they can win that. But anyway, my point is, we started talking about the Steelers here. How do you fix it? I think it's the offensive coordinator. I do.
Well, I would say go get a new offensive coordinator. If that doesn't work, I mean, all signs point to Tomlin. And it's not a good look when you keep replacing one position, and it just doesn't get any better.
Right.
Then it's like, okay, why do you keep blaming that if, you've tried now 4 of them and all 4 haven't worked? Like, everybody knows it's simple science. When you're working, if you're trying to find the problem, you isolate one variable and you change that and you keep everything else constant.
Right.
What's been constant through it all? Mike Tomlin's been the head coach, but we've brought in a lot of different offensive coordinators, and that's the variable that's changing. So because we're not seeing anything from that, I think that might not be
other variable.
That might not be the variable that's hurting you.
So,
right?
My thing is, I mean, I agree with you. Like I said,
like if you're breaking it down most
scientific
logically,
method here. Here's the thing that bugs me is that it's the same issues from coordinator to coordinator. That's what's crazy to me, is that it's the same conservative play calling, screen passes when we shouldn't be, running undisguised, no numbers in our favor, inside zones, just right into some big bodies. Like, it's the same problems no matter the coordinator. That's the thing. It's not that they're bad but different. They're all equally bad at the exact same thing.
Yeah, and it almost leads you to believe, like, is there something in the interview process where they just ask you a bunch of questions? Second and 3. What are you doing? Oh, screen pass to Deontay Johnson for a gain of 2. Set up a 3rd and 1 that we're not going to get.
No. Here's actually what bugs me, is that we'll go, I don't know, like first play, we're going to run right into the line of scrimmage and lose a yard. 2nd and 11.
Yeah.
That's when we decide, all right, now we're going to throw a behind-the-line screen pass, or we're going to throw like a tight end shovel pass. And then it's like, I don't know, like 3rd and 9. And we decide once again to throw like a flat route with no deep concept. Or they'll actually get it like 3rd and 1, like you mentioned, and they have a lot of plays for short yardage plays, but then they'll decide now's the time to take the shot for 75 yards down the field.
And they'll miss it and punt.
Of course they'll miss it and they'll punt.
So he'll overthrow Claypool by about 10 yards.
It's been the same problem that transcends the OC, and that's the problem. I will say from Miami's standpoint, I think that was a coaching win. Clearly off script, they were not able to do anything, but the first 3 possessions that were scripted from Miami, they came out looking sharp.
Yes.
Now, granted, adjustments weren't there, but Tua is not an off-script quarterback. On script, he's fantastic. And what happens when he was given the script? 13 points, 3 drives. I mean, like that's
what saved them, because
absolutely they clung to that.
If the Steelers' offense could have done anything except be anemic and do nothing, they had how many opportunities? I think they punted the ball away 5 times in a row when they were only down like 3 points, or they punted 3 times when they were down 3, punted twice when they were down 6.
And a bunch of picks. Yeah. No, I agree.
What are you doing?
I agree. All right, Niners and Chiefs. So everyone's to kind of overreact and bury the Niners. Here's my takeaway. The Chiefs, first of all, are playing better than almost anybody in the league right now. Second of all, they're healthier. And third of all, well, the Niners never do well against like the Chiefs and those high-powered offenses, right? That's not their bag. And especially if you can jump out to a lead on them, then it's really tough.
Because then they have to play catch-up with Jimmy G.
Right. And that's not really their game. Look, let's give the Chiefs credit. Like, people want to bury the Niners. I think this is more about giving the Chiefs credit. I mean, the fact the way they've been able to work in, McCole Hardman's been able to take a step up and be a number 1. Juju Smith-Schuster looks like he's back to, Pro Bowl level wide receiver.
Yeah,
Travis Kelce's playing fantastic. They rebuilt their offensive line in a year. Even the running backs are playing pretty decent. You got to give the Chiefs credit.
Yeah. The only thing that makes me mad is that there are people now kind of, banging on the C-Mac trade. Overreacting
That's not
a lot.
The problem.
It's his first week there. He got the playbook on the plane to San Francisco.
Right, he got it on Wednesday.
Yeah, he played pretty well the first half.
I'm not gonna lie, for him being his first game in, he kind of looked pretty comfortable.
Give him a couple weeks. I don't know what do you expect? Did you expect him to come to a new city, new team, new playbook, new faces, new facility, new
6
stadium,
touchdowns.
And bam, he needs to go off all game.
I expected 6 touchdowns.
He needs to know every single route. He needs to know every single blocking concept. No, that's ridiculous. You imagine trying to learn a Kyle Shanahan playbook in a couple of hours?
I keep looking for my watch. It's upsetting. No, I could not imagine doing that whatsoever. That would be miserable. Speaking of miserable, Tom Brady was pretty miserable on Sunday.
It was bad.
21-3 loss to the lowly Panthers.
The rebuilding,
starting PJ Walker, who was most recently in the XFL, I think. I mean, come on.
Beats the GOAT.
Mike Evans drops a touchdown pass. You could tell as soon as he dropped that, the whole team was deflated. There was no shot of them winning that game after.
Yeah.
Do you think it's a Brady problem?
I do. When I was watching the game, I caught a lot of it because Mike Evans was on my fantasy team. That hurt watching that.
That's tough.
So I was able to see most of it, and having Red Zone on, you just keep bouncing back to it, and it was such a big kind of shock to everybody that it was on. And his passes, it looks like he can't complete anything for accuracy over 10 yards. Have you noticed? It's
the deep ball has lost him a little bit.
No, not a little bit. It's gone. The only thing he has now are those dink and dunk plays, and they are getting blown up because there is no threat down the field. Every single safety, there were no safeties playing deep because they know that the only thing Tom can do right now are short timing throws underneath, and they were playing their safeties up, walked up, double coverage on a lot of receivers. So even if they did catch the ball, they were getting tackled after a step and a half anyway.
Not to mention they haven't been able to run the football that effectively, and you paid not big money, but decent money to Fournette, and you haven't been able to run the ball, which is kind of crazy.
He showed up to training camp like 260 pounds.
Yeah, he showed up like a grizzly bear. I don't think people. Oh, the Panthers' defense is legit.
No, they were able.
I think the Bucs' offense was just that bad. But here's the interesting thing though. Once we get to predictions, we're split on this one. You like the Ravens, but I like the Bucs because when you're humiliated like that, oh man, like
I just don't know if Brady has the juice for it though.
I'm worried about Brady coming off a humiliating loss.
Look,
I would be shaking in my boots if I'm the Ravens.
I mean, they got Lamar though, so it's gonna be a good game this week. There's a lot of good matchups this week.
That's fair. Okay, let's get into the other games, kind of like the less important games per se, but still games that we want to touch on and talk about. Let's start with that Thursday night game. I actually lost this one in the splits. I should have known. It was Andy Dalton in primetime, and that's on me.
He did not look good. He really didn't.
2 pick sixes. Here's the crazy part. Now, granted, this isn't a fantasy football show, but he put up like major fantasy football numbers because he still had like 3 touchdowns and like 300 yards passing, like 250, something like that.
Yeah.
Like a decent game statistically outside of the 3 picks and the 2 pick sixes. Theory, though, real quick while we're on the subject, you should get docked extra points if your quarterback in fantasy throws a pick that ends up in 6 points on the same exact play. If it's a pick 6, I'm sorry. You should get docked more points.
Yeah.
You should get docked a full 6 points.
Yeah, you should.
Especially on one where you throw an out route that you know you shouldn't throw and it goes to the hizzy like 80% of pick sixes are.
It just looked he looked really inconsistent throughout that entire game. And the
a
Cardinals
great word.
didn't even look good. The Cardinals didn't even look that good, but they were able to beat the failing Saints there.
At least they figured out their offense a little bit, makes them more watchable.
Yeah.
We kind of already touched on the Packers losing to the Commanders there. It didn't look good for Aaron or the young receivers. How about the Falcons? So that was one of our bets that didn't hit because they were at that point 6-0 against 6-0 against the spread.
Yeah.
They got walloped. Joe Burrow threw for over 400 yards, which is just insane when you really think about it. He had a really good game. Here's the thing about the Falcons. They actually didn't play bad. Their defense just couldn't stop a nosebleed. And they lost the turnover battle. Honestly, that was... Did they lose the turnover battle? No, they actually didn't even turn the ball over. Nobody turned the ball over. Wow, what a clean game. I'm thinking third downs. I think they weren't as efficient. That's what I was thinking. Yeah. So, weren't as good on third down. But at the end of the day, Mariota still played pretty well. They lost time possessions. That'll be a factor.
Yeah.
But if you can't stop Burrow, that's pretty much game.
I think that game was more about how good Joe Burrow and the Bengals are becoming right now, more than it was about the Falcons taking a little bit of a step back. Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, that connection is irreplaceable right now, and it looks like the strongest in the AFC, I would say.
I think Diggs and Allen have a argument, but I don't think you're far off. Yeah, we kind of got screwed by the injury report here. 2 guys were listed as like questionable/doubtful, but like were game time decisions. The top 2 corners for the Falcons. Of course, they didn't play. Great luck for us. Either way, Bengals win 35-17. The Giants go to Jacksonville and win 23-17. We kind of touched about how the coaching's just fantastic.
Brian Daboll is the guy.
They just scheme their way to just good positional football. Yep. Just good situationally. That last play was wildly entertaining. Right down to the 1 yard line, couldn't get in for Jacksonville. So Jacksonville had they were like 2-2 at one point, or maybe even 2-1, and they've lost 3 or 4 straight. So tough to see there. I think they'll turn it around. Here's the thing: they're in football games. That's a step in the right direction, right? Nobody thought they were a playoff team this year, right?
No.
They're still 3-4 years away from actually being a real competitive team. 3 years.
Well, on the flip side, though, I can't wait to see what Brian Daboll does with like 2 or 3 drafts under his belt in New York. Especially I can't wait to see what he can build there, kind of to kind of get the scheme he wants. I feel like he has something he wants. He's just doing what he can with what he has.
I think eventually they're gonna move on to a more talented quarterback.
Sure.
You could argue Dan Jones is fine in this system, but at the end of the day, like you want a more talented quarterback. So it'll be interesting to see what he does
this year.
Yeah, it's interesting to watch. Good draft. The Titans have quietly won 4 in a row. They're up to 4-2. They beat the Colts 19-10. The Colts are, of course, going to bench Matt Ryan. Sam Ehlinger will get the start. Ryan had a dislocated shoulder, so he would have been out this week anyway with an injury. But going forward, it'll be Sam Ehlinger. Don't love the direction of that franchise. Titans get the dub and will probably win that division. The Ravens, another stupidly close game.
Yeah.
They were up 10 points in the fourth quarter. Of course, they let up a touchdown late, so they don't cover. Thank God we didn't bet on them this week, but they didn't cover. They win 23-20 against the Browns. A win's the win nonetheless. Lions-Cowboys, I'm not even going to talk about it much. That was probably the most boring game of the day. Jared Goff sucks, and the front seven for the Cowboys is good. That was the whole story of the game.
Yeah, the Cowboys were struggling for a while there. They couldn't get anything going on offense in that first half. Dak looked like,
Dak.
He didn't look great until the second half, until they got up by like a little bit, and then a lot of garbage time.
Because he looked like Dak.
Yes.
He looked like Dak. All right, the Jets beat the Broncos. This is one that you actually took the Broncos on. You also kind of got screwed by injury. Russ didn't end up playing. Brett Ripon played. I'm not sure it would have mattered all that much, just because I don't think Russ is, right now at least, he's not playing much better than a Brett Ripon or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, he has not showed that he's got it at all this year.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, but that's just the fact of the matter. The Jets' defense is playing really, really well, and they're basically hiding the ball from Zach Wilson. Unfortunate news, though, they will lose the rookie running back, Breece Hall, for the year with a torn ACL. He's been one of the most efficient backs on a per-carry basis, so that sucks for him.
And then ripping off that huge run, too.
Yeah.
My gosh.
He's been playing well, and that's unfortunate for them, but they did go out and get James Robinson, the running back from Jacksonville, who was kind of splitting time with ETN, starting to kind of lose the battle a little bit. So the Jets give up, I think, like a fifth and a sixth or something like that for him. That's a good move for both sides. Texans at the Raiders, a game I'm gonna be honest, I didn't watch a single snap of. So I really have nothing to say here. I mean, if you're just looking at the score, 38-20 Raiders, well, yeah, they're a more talented roster. I mean, they're too talented to not win games. That's my takeaway kind of from the Raiders season. It's like, yeah, I mean, it's going to be rocky, and they're not very good on defense, especially in the secondary and on the lines, to be able to compete with the big boys.
Yeah.
But they're too talented to not beat up on some teams, and the Texans are one of those teams that they can beat up on.
Right. I watched like 30 seconds of this game, probably total. Red Zone showed it. It was probably the least viewed game of the day out of all of them.
I wonder if you can get stats on how many times they go to a game. I wonder if Red Zone does that. We'll try to find that for next episode.
It was probably the least cut to game, though. And it was just, Derek Carr to Devontae Adams, get a couple here. A lot of that connection. The pass rush for Houston kind of got to Carr a little bit. He had to go out for a couple of plays to start the game.
Did he?
Like after I think it was like the second or third play of the game, he got sacked by J.J. Watt and had to leave. So
big body.
Yeah.
Seahawks go to LA and beat the Chargers 37-23. Look, we got to be honest, Geno Smith is pretty decent, and now they can run the football with Kenneth Walker, so kind of the surprise of the league right there for Seattle. Obviously, the Steelers lose to the Dolphins, and finally on Monday Night Football, Patriots almost without explanation get rocked by the Bears.
Yeah.
That's a coaching loss. To be fair, the quarterback play wasn't great, but you're supposed to be able to run the ball and stop the run if you're a Bill Belichick team, and they weren't able to do either. So to me, that comes down to coaching. But hey, what do I know? I haven't won 6 Super Bowls, so whatever.
Yeah, it was just odd to see Bill drop that to a younger quarterback in Justin Fields, and just young coach. Definitely not the pedigree of a Bill Belichick. But in the third segment, guys, we're going to have all of our predictions for Week 8 of the NFL. Stick around for that. And then at the very end of this third segment coming up, we will have Week 8 bets on a budget, hopefully finally going to turn things around. So we will see you guys in the third segment. Here we go, third segment on Thursday, October 27th. Last episode in October. Then we will be moving in to November. Football season will be, I guess, the intensity will be heightened. Getting closer and closer to teams battling it out for playoff spots and wild card races and all that. So,
it's a great time to be. Great time to be a sports fan. NFL's in full swing. We have the World Series starting tomorrow. Yeah. Philly going to Houston for 2, back to Philly for 3, and then, of course, back to Houston for the last 2 if it makes it there. Who do you like in that real quick?
Houston is just on fire right now.
And I know that
I love Philly.
They're playing with the spirit, and they make it really easy to root for. But I am going to go ahead and take the pitching and the experience of Houston.
Yeah,
I think Philly puts up a fight though. I'll go Houston in 7. I think it goes the distance.
Oh, I think it's going to go at least 6 or 7. At least 6. But I could very well see that going to 7. In this segment, though, we got all of the predictions for Week 8 of the NFL. Some good matchups. Previewing it, there were a couple where we were back and forth. I know that you were back and forth on a few. We're split on 3.
Yeah, split on 3, back and forth on a couple. See how it goes.
All right, let's go.
All right, so we'll start off with the Thursday night game, of course, tonight with the Ravens at the Buccaneers. First of all, we're split on the Thursday night game for a second straight week.
You won well.
Yeah, you won last night's Thursday night. I will go ahead and take the Buccaneers at home to bounce back off of a humiliating loss. I think now I used this logic last week and it didn't work. But Tom off a loss is usually fantastic. I think here's the thing though. When you lose to Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh, it's like, okay, all right, it's a good organization. They have a really strong defense. You know, we played okay, and like they weren't quite at rock bottom yet. And then you lose at Carolina to PJ Walker.
Now
that's rock bottom. And I think for me, the thing about Brady, and I think Burrow has this quality too, is when their back is against the wall, that's when they're at their best. I think that's what separates Brady. And I think his back's against the wall here. I think if you go 3-5 through 8 weeks, that's tough. That's tough to come back from. So I do think his back's against the wall, and I think he's going to respond well. I think the Bucs win in a really, really close game.
Oh, I don't know. I can't bet against Lamar and Baltimore right now. This roster, healthy, starting to roll now, getting into, mid-season form. It's really hard to take anybody but Lamar, especially against an aging Brady, who I have my concerns with. I talked about it a little bit when we were recapping in the second segment. But look, I don't think he has the same juice. He doesn't throw the deep ball nearly as well. He's not hitting on many throws over, I guess, 10 to 12 yards. Everything seems to be short, and I just have to roll with Baltimore.
That's fair. Can't really blame you there. So, I just feel, I'll roll with Brady. So let's go Broncos at the Jags. We both like the Jags here. First of all, the Broncos with Russ injured, I don't know. I think he's questionable right now, but either way, I think even if he plays, I don't think the offense is dynamic.
Yeah.
Especially if he doesn't play, that's an obvious Jacksonville. But I think even if he does play, I'm still going with Jacksonville.
Yeah, I mean, I'd take Jacksonville either way. I just don't like anything that the Broncos have going offensively.
That's fair.
As a whole, as a unit.
Let's go with Cardinals at the Vikings. Vikings off a bye. We're both going to roll with the Vikings here. Like I said, off a bye, they've been, good coaches have been really good off a bye, and I think Kevin O'Connell is a good coach.
Yeah, absolutely.
Arizona hasn't done it consistently. They put up that one really good game this past week, putting up 42.
And that's Kyler's. That's the big thing that's killing them.
Yeah, I don't know. No, I'll roll with the Vikings. Bears at the Cowboys. We'll both take the Cowboys here. I think the Bears, that doesn't happen again. Like them winning in Foxborough. That's not sustainable, and it's not something that they've been able to do consistently and that they won't do consistently. Cowboys have too good of a front seven to get run on like that and to allow Justin Fields any little sliver of comfortability in the pocket. So Cowboys win pretty handily.
Yeah, that pass rush is going to overwhelm the Bears.
Let's go with the Panthers at the Falcons. So the Falcons at home have been a really, really good football team. They can run the ball. It seems like they run the ball better at home. I don't know if it's snap counts. I don't know if it's just they're just comfortable. But they're better running the ball at home. And Mariota at home has been a really, really fantastic quarterback. Pass rating above 110, I want to say. So I'll roll with the Falcons here to beat the Panthers.
Yeah, I like that. And it's one of the bets we have later. So
yeah, we'll get to that obviously later in this segment. But I do like them at -5. Raiders at the Saints, we're split on this one too. I'll pick the Saints at home. Vegas is favored by 1.5. I just like the Saints at home. They're going to get healthier on defense, which is going to be big. I think they get Marshawn Lattimore back to combat the Devontae Adams, the headache that he will inevitably create. And I think Alvin Kamara is going to run the football. The Raiders' run defense is awful, so I'll go with the Saints to run the football. Defense is coming back. They're at home. New Orleans over Vegas. Why do you like the Raiders?
I just like the Raiders because of the Devontae Adams factor. The connection between Devontae and Derek Carr is only getting better. They did all right last week, and I mean there were no big missteps. They won how they should have against the Houston team.
Right.
So I think this week is kind of going to be the same thing. Look, the Saints have a big question mark at QB. Who is it? Is it going to be Taysom
I think it's probably going to be Andy Dalton again, but I don't know if I feel good about that. I'm betting on Andy Dalton for the second week in a row.
Yeah, that's tough. I like the Raiders.
Let's go with the Patriots at the Jets here. We both like the Pats actually. So the Jets have been playing well. Yeah, that's all. Good and well, but at the end of the day, we know what Belichick does to young quarterbacks. And now you're going to say, what about Justin Fields? Justin Fields did not win that football game on Monday.
Yeah.
That was a running game, defense win for Chicago. That was not, hey, Bill Belichick couldn't stop Justin Fields, right? I think he's going to fluster Zach Wilson, and he always owns Jets quarterbacks for some reason. That's not even a question.
My big thing is the Jets are not going to be able to sustain any sort of running game, I don't think.
Especially with Breece Hall out now.
That's going to be that's going to be huge.
I think that's a bigger loss than people think.
Yes. He was kind of almost the heartbeat of that offense.
Yeah.
For a little bit there, and it sucks to see him go out. But
so yeah, I think we'll both take the Pats there. They're actually favored by 1.5, which is kind of crazy. All right, let's go with the Dolphins at the Lions. We're both going to take the Dolphins. Now, I was thinking about the Lions because this is kind of a little bit of a trap game, right? You're coming off a Sunday night win at home versus Pittsburgh. Now you got to go to Detroit. That'd be tough. But at the end of the day, they are a more talented roster, and the Lions might be without Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's trying to get out of concussion protocol. It'll be a game-time thing. To me, the Dolphins are a better football team. I worry with Tua off script because you saw they scripted the first 3 drives. Fantastic. Rest of the game, awful. So I do worry about that, but I just got to roll with a more talented team and what I think is the better coach as well.
Yeah.
Steelers at the Eagles.
I mean, the Eagles.
I
don't think the Steelers
does it need description?
I mean, I don't think the Steelers have anything to compete with this Eagles roster right now.
I'd love to be optimistic, 93.7 The Fan here, and be like, well, they actually have a chance, Pony. No, they don't. No, they don't. No, they don't.
No.
If it was in Pittsburgh, I'd give them a sliver of a shot. It's not, though. It's in Philly. No.
That's a tough spot for a young quarterback.
And the Eagles are coming off a bye.
Oh.
Yeah, that'll work out well. All right, let's go with the Titans at the Texans. Both the Titans here, they've actually quietly ripped off 4 straight wins. Their defense is playing a lot better. Ryan Tannehill's serviceable, and that's about all you can say. He's serviceable. He's winning games.
Yeah.
More so than I can say for Davis Mills, so I guess we'll roll with the Titans. Niners at the Rams here. I was thinking about the Rams. I was going to go Rams off a bye because McVay and, again, good coaches off a bye are fantastic.
But when it's Kyle Shanahan.
But unfortunately, Kyle Shanahan's won, 7 or 8 straight against McVay. And it's getting ridiculous at this point.
And this 49ers defense, and I think what McCaffrey will be able to add over the coming weeks is just going to be one of the best rosters in the NFC. I mean, they are going to be a really clear-cut competitor to go deep in the playoffs.
So all things equal, I think obviously Shanahan has shown he's at least head-to-head have been a better coach than McVay. But I think Shanahan off a loss might be more scary to me than McVay off a bye.
A little bit, because he's coming back with something to prove.
Yeah. All right, Giants at the Seahawks. So we're split on this one as well. This will be our third split. You like the Giants.
Yes.
6-1 Giants. Why?
We've talked about it all show. Brian Dable. He's got that offense playing at a really, really good level right now, especially with a really middle-of-the-road guy in Daniel Jones.
Right.
It's really impressive what he's done. They give Saquon the ball a fair amount of the time, and he's usually able to rip off 4 or 5, if not break one.
He's been really, really efficient this year. That's true.
Yeah, he's back to himself, and it looks good for New York, and I don't see them losing that.
So I'll go with Seattle. I'm going to go with Seattle just because, first of all, actually, right now, Geno Smith is a better quarterback than Daniel Jones, so I'll take Geno Smith. And they can run the football. And so now I worry about with the defensive front of the Giants, it's going to be tough sledding. But the 2 rookie tackles for Seattle have been fantastic.
Yeah.
I think they're going to have a nice game. I think it's a close game for sure, like a 28-25 type of game. I think it's close. I think Seattle will make one more play. I think they're a little bit more experienced. We'll go with Seattle over the Giants.
Okay.
All right, the Commanders at the Colts. We're both going to take the Commanders here. Now, the Colts are favored by 3, and at home they've been a much better team. But The Colts starting Sam Ellinger, so he's never thrown an NFL pass. Now, granted, he was okay at Texas. Again, okay at Texas. He wasn't, a stud. He wasn't.
And that's a Big 12 school. You're not exactly playing the best of the best of the best there.
And then you're saying, oh, well, Mahomes was too. Yeah, Mahomes was throwing for like 600 yards though. So
he kind of stood out a little bit.
Right. Ellinger I was known for being better at running the ball than throwing the ball. A little Taysom Hill quality to him. I worry about against the front seven in Washington how that's going to go.
Yeah, that's not exactly what Indy needs either, though.
Yeah, I'll take the Commanders in a more experienced team over the Colts.
100% agree.
Let's go with the Packers at the Bills. I don't think there's much to be said here. The Packers are playing bad football. You tell me what they're good at, and we'll have a discussion about this. I don't think there's anywhere that they excel at. I think that Buffalo excels at almost every position group. So, I think Buffalo wins by like 2 or 3 touchdowns here. Yeah. I mean, they're a 10.5-point favorite. I think they probably even cover. I mean, that's not a bet. We'll get to our bets later. That's not one of them. But that's an interesting line. I'll take Buffalo handily.
Look, I think Buffalo is going to get out to a hot start, and Aaron is just not going to be able to keep the composure or get it even close to together. Yeah. And Buffalo's going to run away with it.
Yeah, and that's in Buffalo. Rookie receivers in Buffalo on Sunday Night Football. Okay, for sure. All right, let's go with the Bengals. The Bengals at the Browns. That's a Bengals win. Joe Burrow and that offense is clicking. They have found it. They are back in rhythm.
Yeah.
And they will be just fine. That's a team that keep your eye on to win the division, to win the NFC North there. He's probably the best quarterback in that division. Well, I mean, he certainly is right now. I think going forward he is as well. You could even argue that he's top 3 in the league right now. He's playing that well. 16 touchdowns, 1 turnover since that week 1, kind of dud. But then again, he had surgery in the offseason. Yeah. So since that game, since he's kind of, started to get back in the flow of things, he's been fantastic. Bengals over the Browns. Do you agree? Right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, the Browns are not winning.
Cool. Just making sure we're on the same page there. But don't go anywhere, though, because we still have our bets on a budget here, coming up. I do want to talk about one thing real quick, though. One of the games I was looking at, where's it at here? Oh, with the Steelers-Eagles, right? So let's do a little mini preview, right? I wanted to spend like a minute on this. Our run defense is not good. Like, it's not good. And they put up 156 yards on the ground, because this is a little prop bet I want to do kind of before we get into betting. This isn't going to be an official bet. 156 yards on the ground for Philly. We give up 120. Our linebackers have been playing very
And that's not exactly good.
So I don't even know what the prop bet is right now. But off the top of my head, it's probably somewhere around like Miles Sanders, like 80, maybe like 73.5, maybe.
Oh.
No, probably even less than that. It's probably closer around 53.5. And I'd smack it right now. I'm just saying. I think it's interesting.
I mean, what do you think the odds on that would be?
I don't know.
Probably around plus.
I don't know. Okay, either way, let's get into bets.
Yeah.
Bets on a budget here in, week 8 now. Okay, so first bet. Let's go with Atlanta -5 at home versus Carolina. First of all, Atlanta 6-1 against the spread this year. Really nice team covering the spread. Remember, good teams win, great teams cover. So Atlanta's been good for those that have been betting them this year. And at home, they've been a really, really solid football team. I mean, you got to think they beat Carolina at home. Now, I don't think Cleveland's great, but Cleveland can run the ball a little bit. They're certainly talented on their roster. They beat them at home. So, I mean, that's a decent team at home. And Carolina, look, at the end of the day, we don't expect them to win like they did this past week. I mean, that's not Carolina as a team. I think that's more of an anomaly than Atlanta. So I think Atlanta's the better team here. I think they'll win by about a touchdown. We'll go like 27-20 Atlanta. So.
Yeah, and on top of that, they don't have to see Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase this week in the Bengals. So
definitely a little bit more of a BB gun offense with Carolina, and they should get their 2 top corners back, so that'll be big.
Yeah, it'll be.
All right, let's go with the Vikings -4 at home versus Arizona, coming off a bye with all that talent. Kevin O'Connell's going to have time to scheme up a lot.
Everybody's rested.
Yeah, and here's the thing, though, about Arizona. They will have a long week because they did have the Thursday night game, so they'll be rested as well, not quite as rested. And I just think the bye is going to do the Vikings really, really well. And good coaches off a bye are generally fantastic. And I personally think that Kevin O'Connell is going to be a really, really good coach and already is. So I think we're going to kind of see that in evidence here. they'll win, nothing crazy. I don't think they cover by a lot, but like a 28-23 type of game, and they'll cover.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, the Vikings have been good, and they've been kind of proving us right all year so far. So
I really hope we go 5-0 this week, just
that would be
just
so
to get
nice.
back on track.
Oh.
All right, let's go with Washington. They're plus money. They're plus 115 on the money line at Indianapolis. Look, Indy's going to start Sam Ehlinger, who I don't think has ever thrown a regular season pass in the NFL. So I don't think that's going to go very well.
No, it's not the recipe for success.
Washington's front seven is really, really solid. And not to mention they get some guys back that were injured on the front seven, so that'll be helpful. Taylor Heineke's a baller. He'll go out there and he'll sling the ball down the field a little bit. So yeah, I think Washington squeaks out a close one. Like a 19-17 weird type of game.
Hey, we just need the win.
We just need the win.
Just
we
need
just
the
need the
win.
win. They're actually, favored. Or no, I'm sorry. They're dogs by like 3 points.
Are they
like that,
actually?
so yeah.
Okay.
All right, let's go with under 40.5 in the New England at the Jets game. So the Jets, first of all, their offense hasn't been very explosive. Now, they control the ball. They're going to run the football. Zach Wilson's going to make just enough throws to win.
Yeah.
But they're not putting up 20, 25 points, and neither's New England. New England's going to, again, run the football, play it slow. So New England's defense is going to fluster Zach Wilson. He's not going to be able to put up points. And we know New England's offense isn't very good, and the Jets' defense is good. So this is good defense versus bad offense on both sides of the ball here. I'm not sure where the points are going to come from. I think it's like a 13-10 type of game, low scoring. I'm not sure who wins. I'm staying away from that, but I think it's definitely going to be under 40.5.
Yeah, I don't see any of those really becoming like high-powered, high-charged offensive games.
I don't think so.
And on either side.
Let's go with over 43.5 in the Pittsburgh at Philadelphia game. Here's the thing. I actually think Pittsburgh's going to be able to put up about anywhere from 17 to 20 points. And I know Philly's going to put up probably 30 plus.
Easy.
And so all Pittsburgh has to do is put up like 13, 14 points. And I think they will. I think, I'll call it like a 35-16 game.
Yeah.
I think Pittsburgh gets throttled. But I think over 43.5 just because I know Philly's going to score. And I think Pittsburgh's going to be good enough to score 14, 15
At
points,
least
which
to
is
get to
all
that
they're going to
over.
need to. Yeah, right.
It's going to get ugly.
Yeah, but I think
Kinda
over's
talked
the
about
bet
that earlier.
there. So to go through them, we'll have Atlanta -5, Minnesota -4, Washington plus 115 on the money line, under 40.5 in the New England at the Jets, and over 43.5 in Pittsburgh at Philly to round out our bets on a budget looking to get back on track.
I like that. Guys, that's pretty much all we have for you today. It was a great episode, so if for some reason you just listened to bets, just go back. We have all the standalone videos posted on YouTube, or you can watch the full episode basically anywhere. You can listen on Apple Podcasts, listen on Amazon Music, watch us on Spotify, YouTube, and Amazon Prime Video. So guys, thank you so much. Make sure you're going to theissuesports.com, checking out all the latest from all the social medias there. And we will see you guys next week. And that was The Issue.